Well, guys, it's another week without 3DS. Just still waiting. Haven't gotten any news from them at all. No status updates at all, so that sucks. We're still waiting. Probably another week, 2, maybe 3, probably minimum, based on how things have been looking with how busy they are for my own deductions. So hopefully we'll get it back soon. I'll be able to put some more videos up. I'm really falling behind. I'm starting to get really impatient, but not a lot I can do. So keep on going with this series. I'm thinking once I get my 3DS back, though, this podcast will probably finish up. I'll finish up maybe the weapons or something in one large episode and call it good. But today we're talking about the Longsword, which originated back on the PSP in Freedom 2. That's where it first debuted. And it was pretty OP back then. Everyone really used it. I remember playing Excellent Kai. You couldn't go into a room without someone using a longsword, which is fine. It was a new weapon, so that was part of it. Another part of it was just insanely strong, and they've sort of balanced it out now, thankfully. But it's definitely still a fun weapon to use. It's an easy weapon to use because there's not a whole lot you need to know about it, right? It's pretty straightforward as far as everything goes. The damage, the element, whatever, and all that. All the combos and everything. So it's a good starter weapon for most people because it does have pretty high damage output per hits, and it is a little forgiving. So it's good to use if you don't really know where to start, right? As a Blade Master, you can use it pretty much against anything, no problem. It's got a pretty decent balance of raw versus element due to hit frequency. I like to pick sort of one that's in between. If I have to pick between two different fire longswords or something, I usually go for one that has maybe sacrifice a little bit of raw for like a lot more fire or something like that. Unlike the hammer or something where I'm pretty much always going to go strictly raw with just the bonus of an elemental damage. Longsword, I tend to usually pick a balance of it. Obviously there are exceptions, of course, but I feel like longswords are one of those weapons that you can kind of go either way, and you can be pretty much all right if you wanted to go either all raw and a little bit of element, pretty much, or tons of element with sacrifice for raw. You might be all right, especially if you get some critical on either one. Like I said, it's pretty strong for how many hits you can get in because it does actually have a pretty high attack frequency. In retrospect of some of the other weapons for how much damage it puts out, it's pretty high up there. The main benefit though is it's got really good range. Longsword's got, you hit that frequency, the attack frequency at certain ranges for breaking parts. It's extremely useful. Mainly I'm talking about tails, so you can cut tails extremely easily, and I'm really thinking of the monsters that stand out like Diablos, Monoblos, both Rathalos and Rathian. Monsters like that where the tail's just out of reach for a lot of weapons like sword and shield or duels. It sort of sits up higher than the character themselves, but the longsword goes up like really high. So that's extremely useful. It's also really nice to get kind of close to a monster, but still be far enough away. Whereas someone like sword and shield, you're right up in the monster. Longsword, you're close, yeah, absolutely. You're still in damage range, but you're still a back hop away, or half a back hop away from where some of the other weapons might be. So again, it's just good for sort of learning the ropes of Monster Hunter. So I often recommend it as a starter weapon, but usually not a finisher, because I like to see people evolve from that and sort of get better, hone their skills a little bit. But it's a good place to start. So the attacks, like I said, they're pretty simple. You have X as your main combo with A as your connector. A is like a stabbing attack. It's like a thrust attack, while A is your pretty much down slashes. So I believe the main combo is like XXA repeat, XXAX repeat. I believe, and it's pretty open to interpretation, to be completely honest. I never really like to complete a lot of combos in Longsword because I'm constantly moving, because the main attack that I actually use, like one of the main attacks I use when I use Longsword, is the X plus A attack. And that's sort of a side swipe. He does a nice large range side-to-side swipe. But the main thing is it can be directed because it's also got motion value with it too, right? So you actually do X plus A by yourself, and you're going to do a back hop. You're going to swipe and do a back hop, so you get out of the way while attacking. It's not a dodge. You cannot be invulnerable during this part, but if you see something coming and you're in the middle of a combo, it's a lot quicker than rolling out of the way, right? You're still going to be able to get out of the way fast enough as long as you see it coming. So if you hold if you do hold nothing, you'll jump back with this attack. If you hold left or right, you'll jump left or right with this attack. It's really the key to success with the longsword. If you learn how to use this and how to read the monster's attacks, it's going to make you a lot better longsword user as well as just general hunter overall, right? And that's why I don't do main combos, because a lot of times I go in there and do XX and oh shit, X plus A to the left, I got to get out of here, right? And then you can just go into an A and then XX again. You can keep the combo going. And you really want to keep the combo going for longswords because there's a meter you can build up. And there's 4 different layers of the meter. Each one increases damage, the higher the layer is, of course. So you start with nothing. This demon meter, whatever you want to call it. You have nothing, your sword looks the same. So when you first start a quest, you have nothing, right? And then once you build the meter up with attacks, every attack gives you, so much of that meter. And most of them, you can fill it up pretty quickly with, any general combo. And you fill it up, and you do this combo, and you'll graduate to white, which puts in a white aura around your longsword, and then you can get a gold aura, and then you can get a red aura. Completion of this combo, and the combo is executed with the R button. So you do R, you get the meter all the way up, and then you can do a full R attack where you just tap R like 4 or 5 times, and it does a whole combo. Now the last hit of the combo is a huge forward swipe that sheaths the sword. You can't not sheath it. It's automatically going to sheath no matter what, but you do voosh, 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 shing, and that's what it sounds like, and it's great. And if you hit the monster on that last attack, only counts if it's on the last attack. If it's on the front 2, it doesn't matter. You're still doing damage, but it's not going to graduate you to the next sword level. But the last attack will. The last attack has to connect of that combo when they sheath the sword. And then you'll see a nice aura around it. So you can do that whole R attack. And the fun thing is you can actually integrate some other button combos into that R. I think you can do RR triangle, R circle, RR, or something like that. Or you can get a bunch of other attacks in that also have the increased damage, because that R combo, I do believe, has a little bit of an increased damage when you do it. And again, you don't need that meter to be full to use those R attacks. You can use it with the meter up there, but again, if you don't have any meter at all, you're just going to do an overhead swing down with no damage benefits, and nothing's really going to happen. You're just going to, so it takes a little while too, so you don't want to really use that a whole lot, but it is kind of fun. So like I said, you build that meter up, and you get those different damage boosts for the different stages that you graduate to, the different sword levels, and really, once you get up to red, that's where you want to sit. A lot of people make the mistake of going to red and, I'm going to do the R combo again. Well, if you do it again, the last attack connects, you're back down to stage 1, right? You're back down to nothing. So you got to sort of watch out for that. So you want to get to red and sort of sit there as long as you can. I think it does go away over time, eventually. But you can hold it for a while, and then what happens is it'll go back down to gold. It won't go back down to nothing. So then you only need to go through one more combo to get back up to red. So really, once you get to red, you sit there for the rest of the quest as best you can, and that's going to give you the maximum damage output that you could accomplish for a longsword. So that's like the bread and butter. Get there, and then just focus on doing attacks, getting out of the way, doing attacks, getting out of the way. It's really a fluid weapon, so you can definitely do it. You have a lot of mobility with it. You can still roll out of the way if you need to. Once you do that side swipe out, and then you need to roll more. Really easy to do so. So again, it's just sort of an all-around weapon that's nice for newcomers to use. So solo uses, like I said, it's good against pretty much everything. I mean, when you're using it solo, unless you're having a difficult time with certain monsters or something, because again, you don't have a shield. You can't block anything. The rolling. It's good, but it's like every other weapon. It's just a normal roll. So it's not the dual swords where you can really dodge out of the way or something like that very easily, or the lance where you can quickly use the dodge in your combos, right? So it's pretty much just general use. You can use it on everything, and again with the range, you can use it on flying monsters, right? Because you have a huge overhead swipe on your starting combo. You can do that. It's nice. I like using it for really smaller monsters. Some of the larger ones, you might hit more than you intend to because of the large range, and you might bounce due to that, but really, that's sort of a rare issue. If you want to use this for group, it's pretty solid, but again, the range starts to counteract you when you're in a group setting, because the range means you're going to start tripping people, and you're going to trip people a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean whenever I see more than 2 longsword users, I know it's going to be one hell of a quest. Yes, we'll accomplish it. It'll be fine. But if I'm anywhere near them, I'm getting tripped, right? And so you have to be conscious when you're using longsword to not trip people, not do those side attacks a whole lot. Stick with your vertical ones, right? Your X and A. Just standard XX, A, and then maybe roll and then do another one or something like that. You can the longsword does have strictly vertical attacks that you're not going to be tripping people a lot with. So you really have to pay attention when you're playing online with where you're attacking and who's around you. Like, for instance, yes, the longsword can reach Diablos' horns pretty easily when it's just standing there, right? Because it has a nice range, you can go in for it. But if you're going to have a hammer user in there with you, rather let the hammer user attack. Don't go for the head. Go for the tail or something. Go for the legs with some side attacks. Because again, if you go for the legs on the Diablos, more than likely you'll probably hit the wings and you're going to bounce off of because of the large range. So you sort of got to play off the strengths and weaknesses of the longsword there. But really be careful of where you're at. If a monster's down on the ground, don't go for the head. Right? Let a blunt user go for the head so they can get the KO. If you're fighting a Kieran, this just came to mind. If you're fighting a Kieran with a longsword and it's down on the ground, you probably should just step away, right? Because you're just going to be tripping everyone. Sacrifice your damage for 3 people's damage in that sense, the small monsters. You really have to be conscious of this. So I guess in that sense it's sort of not a newbie weapon because you really need to know a lot of the ins and outs, but just, really pay attention to it. And that's probably the biggest mistake you can ever make with longsword is sacrificing larger damage so you can do some hits and feel good about yourself. It's really not worth it. So what are some of the skills you're going to be looking for with longsword? Well, again, it's pretty general, so you're looking for literally the most general skills around. You're looking for sharpness +1, sharp sword, speed sharpen, high grade earplug, attack up, critical up. Yeah, I mean that's it, right? I mean pretty much. You can go for some evasion if you want, maybe some evade distance if preference is you, but there's no real benefit to it. Some people like to put on focus for the longsword. Don't waste the slots. Really don't, because focus would help build up your meter quicker for longsword, but it goes up so fast. You should have no problem getting that meter up. It's not a big deal. I've heard of other people like to go for part breaker / destroyer or tenderizer. Tenderizer, yeah, sure, maybe. But again, then you're kind of focusing on, well, I need to attack that partner regardless of who's around. Part breaker, I don't think it's that necessary. They talk about it for tails. For people who argue for it, like, it makes it really easy to cut tails. I'm like, well, yeah, it does, but you have a longsword with insane range. You can attack the tail whenever you want. You shouldn't need part breaker to make it easier to break the tail. If you're using a longsword, you're expected to get the tail off, right? Like, it's just a given because you have the best chance for it. So, you're looking for the main things to not interrupt your combos. High grade earplug is probably the most important. Sharpness +1 probably, secondly important. Of course, obviously, depending on monsters. If monsters can scream, you don't need high grade earplug. Just your standard staple skills. Really nothing super exciting. You can go for element attack up. I wouldn't, honestly. I wouldn't put the element attack up. I don't think it's that geared towards the efficiency of elements, but, that's personal preference. So there's a decent set that works pretty well with this. I don't take credit for it. I found it on YouTube from some guy. I don't remember. I wish I could remember his name. It's been floating around. I've seen it everywhere. It's Helios Helm X, Garuga X, Celtis X, Garuga X, and Soul Z. And with one gem, a critical gem, this gives you critical +1, high grade earplugs, and razor sharp. And then you need to get a talisman for sharpness +1, I do believe. That might be a little mixed up. But regardless, you need like a +4 talisman, and then you have all the slots in the world open. So you have a helm with 3 slots, that you then have any 5 slots, that's 2 slots and a single, or two slots and a single slot, and then the one slot will be taken up by a critical gem, and then whatever you have in your talisman. So extremely flexible. I've gemmed it for multiple different things, critical +3, high grade earplug, sharpness +1, razor sharp, and speed sharpen increase is like an amazing longsword set, because I had a 3-socket talisman with sharpness +1 in it. So really, that set is probably the only one you're ever really going to need for the most part for longsword. Again, that's Helios X, Garuga X, Celtis X, Garuga X, and Soul Z. So I would start with that one if you're in G rank, obviously, working up for it. Monsters this is good against, pretty much all of them. Like I said, it's pretty general. You can use it against everything. Obviously, depending on your skills and your loadout, it's gonna fluctuate a little bit. But really, it's not like there's any weapon that is bad against, right? Like that you shouldn't use this against because of X reason or whatever. It's generally pretty good. Again, bad against, it really depends on your skill. It's depends what you're outfitted for. If you don't have high grade earplugs, you're probably not going to want to use it against the Diablos or a Rathalos, something like that. That's going to be screaming a lot. Well, earplugs you need for Rathalos, but you know what I mean. So just pay attention to it. Again, Longsword's a great weapon to start with if you don't know what to use. If you're having problems with a monster, maybe try switch it up going to Longsword. It's easy to adapt to. So that's all I got for this week. Next week, leave in the comments if you want me to talk about another weapon I haven't covered already. And we're just going to keep buying time until my 3DS gets back. Talk to you guys later.